Okay, there's another question. I showed more viewers connecting to this, and the question is how many streams goes out of the server. So the server can have as many streams as you want. So you could have multiple clients connecting to different streams, and group clients on a per stream basis. So there's really no set limit on how many streams a particular server can run in parallel. It's once again, it will go back to how soon you're going to run into the limitations because of the hardware or just the CPU processing that it takes to process those streams in parallel. Will it be available in the future? Nicholas, I'm not sure. Oh, you're talking about the Rails. At this point, no, we're not really adding the streaming support or RTMP support to Rails. So it's going to be very unlikely if this functionality would appear in Rails. I'm sorry. It's really not the answer you were hoping for. Okay, so please keep the questions coming. And for now, let's move on to the next example. And the next example is going to be on remote shared objects. And let's see. If you're not familiar with remote shared objects, let me give you a quick crash course. So a remote shared object, think of it as a special type of hash table. So really a combination of name-value pairs. And in that the hash table has a name associated to it, so you can connect to that hash table by name. And the hash table resides in the server. In this case, it would be sitting inside of WebORB4.net. And the cool thing about that hash table is whenever a client, and it could be a Flex client, a Flash client, a Java client, or .NET client, whenever the client puts a value into that hash table, then all other clients connected to that remote shared object automatically notified about that event. So this way, your clients can communicate and share that information relatively easy because the API is very, very simple to create some very cool effects and to leverage this functionality for something very cool inside of your apps. So let me show you how that's for a Flex client, and then I will also, in the context of this example, will show you a .NET client as well. So first of all, as with the other examples, we call the init on the startup. We establish a connection, in this case to a scope, to that messaging application called chat. And the next thing that we do is we use the shared object API, and this is all Flex SDK, or it's actually part of Flash, to get the remote shared object. And in this case, remote shared object is going to be called myChat. And we also add event listener to our remote shared object. It is going to be called onSync. So anytime an event happens around that remote shared object, we will be notified about it. And we also call connect on that RSO. Inside of the onSync, which is the synchronization event for the RSO, we get this sync event. And the sync event contains the information that a particular property was modified. But not only you get the sync events, the actual RSO instance contains the data that represents the data that is sitting inside of that special hash table on the server. So your RSO is going to be up to date at any point of time. Let me show you what the UI design of this application looks like, so we can run it and you see it in action. So we have this log area just for any kind of messages. Here we can type in a message, and when we click this button, the value that is typed in this text area is going to be placed inside of the remote shared object. And whenever we get an event back, we will update a field, a bindable field in this app, which will be rendered in this particular label. So let's take a look through the code. So update RSO is the method, is the function we invoke through the button click. And here, all we do is we say RSO.setProperty. So we update the property with the name MSG with the value that the user types in this text input. Whenever shared object is modified, not just by this client, but any client connected to that remote shared object, this function is going to be called. And then here we'll just log whatever property has changed, and we will take the value from the MSG property, and see we're using the local RSO instance, and put it in this message in RSO, which is a bindable field right here, messaging RSO. And our label will just render the value in that field right here. Okay? Let me run this example and show you what that would look like. All right, so here it is. There's nothing in the shared object. So let's put our first value in there. So here it is. Now it contains hello. Now with one example, the effect is really just not there. Now it gets very interesting once you have more than one client. So let me start another client and run exactly the same app. All right, so from here, and notice that already contains value hello. So from here, let's just type in hi there, and now watch both of the labels here and the label here. So click. Now notice that this hi there appeared in both clients. Not only that, but if you go back to the management console, and remember that we connected to the application called chat. So here in our management console, if we go to the chat application, the shared object will actually show you the shared object that is known by WebORB, and it will contain that value right here. In fact, if you were to modify this property using one of our clients, let's just put like 1, 2, 3 and update the shared object. Notice that the console shows you what value is in there, and all of the clients got updated and displayed this. So this is pretty cool. Now, you're not restricted to putting just the strings in here. You can put complex types, you can put arrays, you can put really any data in here. When it gets really interesting is when we start bringing other types of clients, not just Flex or Flash, but in this case we can also add .NET client. And this is what I'm going to do next. So in here I do have a project called WebORB Client Test, and it's really just a .NET application. And in this case we have a special API called RTMP client, and this API is a part of the WebORB.dll, so you can reference WebORB.dll and you will have this functionality. And here, when I run this app, I'm going to be connecting to the local host port 2037 application called chat. Then I'm going to wait till the client connects, and then once I press the return key, I'm going to get the shared object using this client. Right here, you see client.get shared object. And I'll be connecting to exactly the same shared object that my Flex client connects. And you see it is called MyChat. And inside of the Flex client, it is also called MyChat. In fact, you can verify it using the console that the name of the shared object is MyChat. Going back to C#, we're going to add the shared object listener, and then create a loop where we will be waiting for some keystroke from the keyboard. And then if we get a value from the keyboard, we'll just update our shared object with this value. Okay? So let me compile this guy, build it. Just wait till it's done. Here it's ready. So I'm going to run my .NET client. So it will say that the RTMP client connected, because I added, here it is. Now the client is connected. So now we went into this mode where we are in this loop. So let me bring up my Flex client and type in hi Flex. Press enter, and here it is. I just sent a message from my .NET app into shared object, and all my Flex applications received that. And I can actually see this hi Flex in the shared object, and this client right here got hi Flex as well. And this is bidirectional, so you can actually send messages from Flex, update the shared object, and the client will be updated as well. Okay, so it's a, and as far as the complex types, if you were to have an ActionScript class that you put an instance of into shared object, and there is a corresponding C# or VB.NET class, then WebORB will do all the job of migrating that value from ActionScript into C# when it delivers that update into your shared object instance on the .NET side, and vice versa. Okay, so let me check if there are any questions that I can answer. All right, there's a question whether there is support in PHP. No, there's really no support. We looked into that. The complexity of maintaining a persistent connection, and then all the complexity and the really demand for processing power that is required by RTMP is going to be very hard to do with PHP, so we decided that we wouldn't be implementing RTMP in the PHP as well. There's a question if there is a website to download this code, so it's going to be in our blog. If you go to blog.themidnightcoders.com, once the recording of this webinar is ready, and once it is processed and uploaded to YouTube, then it's going to be out there on the blog as well. All right. Can property, some property of a shared object be an object? Yes, can be an object, an array of objects, array of primitives, and so on. Is it possible to listen for the shared object get remote requests? I assume you're talking about when someone requests a shared object from the Flex client and whether you can be notified on the server side. Yes, you can. The way to go about this is you create an application handler, just like I showed it to you with our server streaming example. So you'd be creating a similar to this application handler, and you would be overriding one of the methods in the base class to be notified when someone requests a shared object. Let me check. All right, there's a comment that my Windows is not Jan. That's right. You know, this is actually a licensed copy of Windows, and then when I installed some of the updates from Microsoft, this annoying pop-up started happening. So I apologize about this, but just so you know, we spend money on this license here. All right, and Tom is asking whether it's also on the client side. I assume whether you want to be notified on the client side when someone connects. Now there is a way to do this, and if I understand your question correctly, so we looked into RSO.setProperty. One other method that the RSO has is called send. So you can say RSO send. And the way this works is the remote shared object allows you to invoke methods, let's say ActionScript methods or C# methods if you have native .NET clients, on other clients connected to the same remote shared object. So this way you can actually do like client-to-client invocation. And in order to do what you are asking about, when client connects, it can just invoke method on using this RSO.send and say something like client connected. Okay, and let's say you pass in client ID as the argument. So this way, when clients connect, it can invoke this method, and all other Flex or Flash or .NET or Java clients will be notified that a particular client is connected to that shared object, and everybody will get that client ID. So that's how I would go about it as far as the synchronization between different clients.